All right, we are looking live. This is our other section of AP Lit, looking at our Shape of a Sonnet Maker lab here, and Lit Analysis lab, and Design lab, and all those good things. And we're going to look at the intentions of these shapes. And unlike the last time, the other class did two different poems. You folks all did the same poem, which is going to make for a nice contrast in approach.
Same time when we did
right? The same thing happened when we did this with the hours. So, very cool. So, Sarah, we're going to start with yours.
Okay.
All right. Here's your sketch that you made after we did empathy mapping. We did some analysis as a class, right? Then we did some empathy maps. Do you have your empathy map?
Yeah.
Right handy? Cool. So there's our empathy map. We looked at the speaker as user. Right? We're focusing on the volta because what we're trying to do is capture the shape of the sonnet per Foster's book, How to Read Lit Like a Professor, and his chapter on sonnets. If it's a square, it's a sonnet, right? Because I never get the name of the chapters right. And so this is our breakdown of John Milton's When I Consider How My Light Is Spent. Right?
A wire man in that amount of time.
So
One piece of wire.
this is awesome. All right, so Sarah went from here's her empathy map. I'm going to have her talk us through it rather than me keep talking. So Sarah, talk us through this.
So I made a wire frame to represent, like, if it's square, it's a sonnet, because it's like the basis and how they all start as just like a simple form. And then it also represents, the frame. The whole structure also represents the turmoil that the person in the poem has. And so the silver wire that's wrapped around through it is like his thought process and his struggle. And the key in the center is the answer to what he's asking and like his thoughts. And so the brown wire that's wrapped through the center is the volta. And so the key is...
That's this here, right?
Yeah.
That brown wire.
So the key's on both sides of the volta. It's kind of above and below. And the key has tighter wrapping above the volta and more of the keys exposed below the volta when he's getting closer to his answer. And I wrapped the two glass beads inside of it to represent like the God figure and the holy, like the higher power. And then there's a little guy in there because he's also tangled in the whole thought process.
I am so blown away by all the levels of intention that you were able to come up with. And we should also point out these were all made in 15 minutes. Right? The whole lab was like an hour, but the actual building and construction was 15 minutes. Which is pretty great. And which do you have your notes from your poem? So people at home know which poem it was. It's this one, Sonnet 19, Milton Sonnet 19, When I Consider How My Light Is Spent. Yay, Poetry Foundation. We can give them a little bit of a shout out. Cool. Thank you, Sarah. All right. You're up, Ryan. Ryan has to like bring down the lights. Same poem. When I consider how my light is spent, here's your empathy map. We put the volta at the center, so we're constantly bringing it back to that turn and thinking about that. Okay, Ryan.
Okay, so like she said, her wires are like the sonnet itself.
Mm-hmm.
And they was in the simple, like the blocks is the sonnet.
Okay.
What envelopes everything.
Okay.
Like brings it all together. And then like you have the speaker here in the center, and he's a talking and everything, like it's conveying the sonnet itself, and then the light, like kind of like the heavenly light and everything.
Mm-hmm.
That brightens the speaker's like voice and everything. It's basically what I was going for.
So the heavenly light is his spirituality? Is that where you're going? Or?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to go for.
Very cool. And that dude, we happened to print one of those off on our 3D printer today, which just is kind of a cool little added bonus. I really like... Is there an intention with the shadow? Like, is there... Or is that is that happy accident, or is there something that you're thinking about?
Well, you mean this shadow right here?
Yeah.
That might just be a happy accident. I wasn't thinking about that part.
I kind of like it might be one of those interesting things to like try to wrap your head around. Like, how might that be? You know, his posture. I know it's
that could mean like how he's battling himself for like the shadow,
Oh, okay.
Battling.
Nice. I like that idea.
Just like the light,
the battling of self.
Like the light is fighting the dark.
Excellent. I like that because this is a poem of conflict, right? Oh, I like it. Good, quick thinking on your feet. I like that improv thinking. Nice, Ryan. All right, and then Roshan didn't have as much time as everybody else because she wasn't able to be here the other day. So she, like, in a really compressed amount of time, had to, like, do an empathy map, do analysis. She had, like, 15 minutes to do all of the things, right?
I made a man.
So she made a man. So walk us through it. Tell us what your thinking was. You had marked up the poem like crazy.
And I did my little doodling. Oh, no, that's my empathy map. And so I was thinking that he is in the beginning and he's trying to figure out, he's confused about how to spend his light. And so his light is his little glass stone that's inside of him, and it's sort of wrapped up in, because he's sort of toying with the idea that to spend your light well, you have to serve God, and that sort of leads him through this like dark. He's sort of moving through this dark, dimmed light, which is going to be this sort of like little tunnel thing here, but when he gets God's reply that that's not really the goal, and that's not a really great way to spend your light. He realizes that it is better spent doing what you would want to do rather than what someone else would want. And so it's more of a self-realization than like he's asking God, but he realizes it for himself, and then so he sort of unleashes his light and leaves behind this idea that he needs to be serving it to someone else.
Really interesting. I like how even though you weren't able to complete this, your explanation made it complete. Yeah. Question to consider. Oh! Hey, Periscope. That happened. I just dropped my phone and exploded. That's going to be on. Well, that's permanent. It's on the internet.
All right.
Everything on the internet is permanent.
Part of the.
It's all part of the show, folks. All intentional. God's reply, because I went back to the poem, and something to think about is here. It says, "But patience to prevent that murmur soon replies." So to be thinking, does patience equal God, or is it really his own reply within him, and he's figuring out what God would say? So
well,
something
that's
just
to
think about.
That it's a self-realization. When God replies, he sort of gives himself permission to be like, no, like that's not.
Gotcha.
You know,
well, it's an interesting thing to think about, because so much of the poem is that conflict and his role in the role of spirituality in his life, and Milton is an interesting dude when it comes to writing about spirituality. He's kind of a controversial figure. So very cool. Nice job, you three. Well done. Oh, and Alan doesn't get to be on the internet. Womp, 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 womp. Sad trombone.